Yo, what is good, man? It's good with y'all. Um, Couple things on my mind today, man. Listen, um, I just put up a post on my Instagram page um, that was so true that it hurt some feelings out there. Here's the thing, man. I hate that I live in a country that cares more about domestic animals than they do about black and brown lives. I do. And I get it's a cultural thing, white culture being the most dominant culture. Um, unless, Usually, unless the trauma is happening to white faces, it's not cared about. It may be reported on ad nauseum, but it's not cared about. Nobody's calling their congressman. Um, Nobody is trying to evoke change. Usually people will say something like, oh, that's horrible, let's pray for them, and then let's move on, to watching Real Housewives of Atlanta or something like that. Um, we got a president that his narcissism doesn't allow for any kind of empathy at all, none whatsoever. I can't get on a post where somebody's um, talking about our Latina babies, brothers and sisters being locked up, and then over a misdemeanor. Crossing the border is a misdemeanor. It's not a felony, just so we know that. Um, I can't get on a post where people are talking about it and not be political. It's impossible. I can't get on a post where people are outraged over the president's behavior and not bring up the fact that a lot of y'all didn't vote, and that's the reason why. I'm talking to black folks. A lot of y'all didn't vote. I can't get on a post where, um, a white person who did vote for Trump is talking about how horrible this is and how, it's disgusting, but they voted for Trump. They're part of the Make America Great Again MAGA group. And look, we've tried to be factual and say, okay, when exactly was America great? Are you talking about the 1800s, 1700s? No, you don't want to go back that far. The 60s? It wasn't great for us. So when exactly was great? You talking about other than the whole lynching stuff? Yeah, other than that, it was great. Well, if it wasn't great for everybody, it's not great for anybody. All right. I hate that I live in a country that has to see video of babies crying in order to recognize that it's inhumane to take children as young as 8 months away from their mother and father, because telling you that they're doing that just isn't shocking enough. It doesn't evoke enough emotion for you to desire to do something different. And look, my post that I put up was a picture of um, Mexican children in a cage on one side. There was a cartoonist that drew Mexican children in a cage on one side and a dog in a cage on the other side, and a white woman with her American flag pants on and MAGA hat on and stuff like that, looking at the dog and talking about how inhumane it was to have the dog caged like that. And look, that's how black people and brown people feel. That's how we've been feeling. This isn't new. This isn't a new feeling for us. This is how we've been feeling. If Mike Vick can go to jail for fighting dogs, yet you have George Zimmerman who shot a kid and he gets acquitted. In the same country, you have police officers that can roll up on a 12-year-old, and before even giving him the opportunity to surrender or put his fake gun down in an open carry state, he's gunned down, and that police officer doesn't serve any jail time. I don't even feel like naming all the different hashtags that we have as black people, of black citizens who were killed by the police, and that's not enough to evoke change. It's not enough to make people mad enough or upset enough to evoke change. You can see somebody dying in real time, and because they're black or brown, it doesn't evoke enough change or a desire for change. And you have children who are being locked up in cages and being made to sleep on the floor, and now they're being shipped to different parts of the United States for a misdemeanor. And the Republican talking point is, well, we separate prisoners from their children all the time. That's because they've committed a felony. We don't separate citizens from their children for jaywalking. We don't separate citizens from their children for going 10 miles over the speed limit. It is political. It's political because you have a president who believes that his bargaining tool is tugging on the heartstrings of America and tugging on the heartstrings of his political opponents in order to get a bill passed to make America pay for a wall that he, in his campaign, said that he was going to get Mexico to pay for. And now, because he knows that he can't get Mexico to pay for it because Mexico said, F you, I'm not paying for crap, he's going to make all his MAGA people pay for it, and the people who didn't vote for him. Listen, it's so tiring that we don't even have the energy to be outraged. Like, black folks are not walking around in shock. We're not in shock because somebody who is racist has the capacity to do something like this, and it's only the people who somehow were walking around in a daze thinking that racism isn't that bad. You know, this I put most of the blame on not racist white Americans. I put this on non-racist white Americans, and here's why. And hey, look, black people, we own our share of it too, because 18% of us voted, and out of that 18%, 13% voted for Trump. Now, I refuse to believe that those were Democratic votes. I believe that those were mostly black Republicans, but regardless, we own our share of it as well because we didn't show up. But I put a lot of this on the shoulders of non-racist white Americans because a lot of you all voted for Trump, number one. Number two, the thought, the feeling, the notion that racism is a secondary issue, that somebody with a racist personality, it's a personality flaw, but it's not that bad. Like, yeah, he's racist, but he might be able to blah, 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 blah. Let me tell you something. Black people, all your black friends, all your Latino friends, racism is not a secondary issue. It's a disqualifying factor. If you're racist, I don't want you to be my boss. I don't want you to be my congressman. I don't want you to be my senator, and I damn sure don't want you to be my president. Right? You cannot be my friend. You cannot be my associate when you have a little bit of racism in you, just a tad bit. You're not, burning crosses, but you will call the police on somebody who's black or Latino because they're sleeping in the common area of the dorm room, or you'll call police on them for using a charcoal grill and living their life when they're not obstructing you from doing anything. Or you'll call the police because they didn't wave at you when they were packing up their belongings. This is what happens when you allow a little bit of racism into a commonplace and say that Somebody can be a little racist and they can still be effective as a leader. You cannot. It's impossible. And all those children that are sitting there crying for their daddies and crying for their mothers, you have a hand in that. You got to own that. And now it's time to do something about it. And now it's time for a gut check for America. Are we cool with racism? Are we cool with bigotry in our Oval Office, in our legislation branch? We've been cool with it. We've been cool with it when it was just black people and brown folks that were getting, beat up by police officers, shot and killed by police officers, and the ones that didn't get killed being railroaded in the justice system, given longer sentences and mandatory minimums and stuff. We were cool with it then. Are we cool with it now? Now it's in your face. Now not only do you see it, but the world sees how you treat children who are coming over here with their parents because their parents are fleeing. In Honduras, parents are fleeing tyranny. They're fleeing being murdered. There's a story of a lady whose 17-year-old son was killed by the cartel because he wouldn't join them. And then they were trying to recruit the younger son. And she said, no, I would rather take the chance of going to America, crossing that border and being picked up by ISIS than to allow them to take my younger son. Those are the people that we're locking up. People who are poor, who just want to make a living for their family, like some of you all's great-grandparents did. Those are the people that we're locking up. Some people are seeking political asylum, but we have to lock them up first. Why? Because we don't do that to people who are seeking political asylum in Russia, or from Russia, or from Germany or the Ukraine. We don't put them in jail first. Keep in mind that this is a misdemeanor. This is the same as not wearing your seatbelt. And people are separating their children from it. I don't have any tears. I don't have any tears from it because, like Childish Gambino said, this is America. We know what America is. You all are just figuring out what America is. So, you make America great again, or make America great finally.